Okay, so we're just getting set up and started here with our meat grinder for the grinding portion of homemade pet food. This recipe is something that I probably make the most for my cats and dogs, and it involves an ingredient that's a little bit hard to find but well worth the effort. They are organic chicken necks. These are skinless chicken necks. They're a great ingredient to use. Perfect balance of bone, meat, fat, cartilage. Really, really a nice optimal food for most cats and dogs. I would love to be able to, and if you are able to find this, sometimes you could find chicken necks with the skin on and chicken necks with the skin off, and if you could do half and half, that's probably best. I was only able to find the skin off ones recently, so I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, some nuts and seeds, some tahini paste to really make sure that I have enough fat in the food. Because again, fat is very important in pet food, as it is in human food. Good quality fat is extremely important. So this is my little grinder. I've had this for many, many years. It's really hanging in there. It's a Villaware. There's some links on the website to some other really great grinders that I've heard really good things about as well, because this is not, particular model is not available anymore. They did start to, since I bought this grinder about, oh my god, it's almost like 17 years ago, they've become a lot more adept at being able to grind bones, chicken necks, chicken backs, because they know that a big part of their industry is marketing to people who are making their own pet food. It's actually become more and more popular these days than it was when I originally bought this one. I just happened to luck out. One way to really make sure that your grinder lasts a long time are these dies. It's the darker colored metal. They are iron and they rust terribly if you leave them wet. So I actually always leave them in a oiled paper towel. So wash them after I'm done, soak them up, get all the meat off of them, of course, but then dry them super thoroughly and then just wipe them down with some olive oil and then keep them in the oiled towel in a little Ziploc. That's how I store them. Let's just put our little grinder together here. Just snaps into place. Put our pieces in. Each one's going to be a little bit different, but in general, not so hard to figure out. This is our sharp blade and our die, and I'm using, if you have options of die, I'm using like the sort of 1/4 or 3/8 inch die. It's kind of your standard sausage making die, chopped meat making die. Screw that on nice. Side. And what I also do before I get started is I set up everything right here next to me. So I've got my chicken necks. This is actually a bowl of beautiful chicken livers and chicken hearts. Organ meat's super important, including your pet food. And these are, it's raw meat. You have to be careful. You don't want to, be touching a million things with your hands. You want to wash up. Dogs and cats do not have any problems with bacteria that might be in raw meat, but humans do. So you want to be careful and cautious and very conscious of how what you're touching with your hands after you touch the raw meat. So I put everything right here. I've got my greens right here. I know I'm going to use these. I'm going to be touching them with my raw meat hands. I have some pumpkin seeds here. I love pumpkin seeds in pet food. Super nutritious. Actually prevents parasites from lodging in the intestines of your animals. So really, really convenient. They actually prevent, it's a good thing to bring with you on vacation. Or if you eat out a lot, it really prevents parasites in humans as well. Sunflower seeds, jam-packed with wonderful minerals, nutrients, wonderful fats. These are raw, whole, obviously. Sunflower seeds, a great thing to add to your pet food. Some carrots. I have some mulberries. Berries are wonderful. Again, they're superfoods, full of antioxidants and wonderful things. I happen to have mulberries here because it's mulberry season right now, so the mulberry trees are full of mulberries. But blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, currants, they're all wonderful for your animal. And some beets. You can't beat beets in anything. I have a few herbs here as well. You don't want to overdo the fresh herbs because you don't want to turn your pet off from the food, but my one dog loves oregano, so I always have to add some oregano. And that is what I've got set up for this particular meal today. Very handy to have some kind of Tupperware or bowl that actually fits under your grinder. Very, very nice and convenient. And so I'm going to start grinding. It's going to be a little bit noisy on the video. I'm sorry, but you know, hopefully we'll get some ground things going and you'll get an idea of just like the process. Just so in case you don't hear me while I'm grinding, I'm using cold chicken necks. They're still partly frozen. My organ meats is still partly frozen. That's important, and it's actually important with any kind of meat grinding activity that you're doing, whether you're making sausage or bologna or anything else. You have to use cold meat. If you don't use it cold, it becomes, especially the fat portion of the meat, becomes very pasty. It builds up in the grinder, and it actually like makes you stop and have to clean the whole thing out because things start getting jammed. So I use everything super cold. And I alternate, and that's why I've actually got my veggie matter right here with it. You could do the veggie matter in a blender or Vitamixer or something like that, but I'm actually using it as I'm grinding the meat because I'm using it to clean out the grinder and to keep everything flowing smoothly. I used to be doing batches of 40 pounds of chicken necks at a time, and by alternating the vegetables and the seeds and the chicken necks and organ meats, I was able to get through 40 pounds without having to clean out this grinder. So I was really proud of myself. But anyway, most people are not going to do 40 pounds at a time. It is rather nice though. I mean, doing a big batch at one time, storing it, really makes a lot of sense because this is a big mess. You got to clean up all these parts and so, being able to freeze as well, why not? Make a big batch, have it all done and ready, use it for a month. Fabulous, fabulous. What I usually do is I'll usually make a big batch in here, which this can handle, really feed my animals currently for about a week. It lasts fine for about a week. It starts to smell a little ripe at some point, but it is really, it's really worthwhile. I mean, especially the dogs, they seem to like it better when it starts smelling a little bit riper than I would like. Cats are a little bit more picky about that kind of thing. But yeah, a week is fine as long as you're starting with nice fresh ingredients. Totally fine. Some people actually believe that the foods, as they start to ferment a little bit more, actually are healthier, more digestible for your dog and cat. So, these are the animals that, they can eat a roadkill, remember, and be fine afterwards. Maybe get a little tummy upset. We would die. A totally different digestive system. So I just remembered that I forgot the garlic, so that's why I'm just getting myself some garlic prepared here. Just going to do a couple cloves. I'm going to actually add the garlic skin and all because the skin actually has extra quercetin in it. Alright, let's get started. working it through. This machine's very old, so I tend to baby it a little bit. More with the carrots. A little bit of basil. A little bit of rosemary. Oregano and baby stem. Put my herbs in there. Go. That was 5 pounds of chicken necks and about 2.5 pounds of organ meat, both hearts and livers. All of our meat here is chicken. And you can see this is a beautiful color, and what a nutrient dense food. And because this food is so nutrient dense, your animal will need very little compared to a dry kibble-based food that is just extruded full of air, full of grain. This is pure meat, vegetable, nuts, fats. And to this we're going to add a few other ingredients. But for right now, this is our grinding ingredients. And this is extremely nice condensed food product here, and a great meal for your pet. That's it for now.